My name is Alissa van Asseldonk. I graduated from the Design Academy in 2012, and my work actually balances on the interaction of research, material experiments and design. And within my individual projects, where I'll be talking about tonight, I try to find this area where science and design meet. And this actually started when I was around 8 years old, and I told everyone that I wanted to be a surgeon when I grew old, until the moment that I realized that education and actually creating stuff yourself also existed. So I went to the Design Academy. And when I was at the Design Academy in my final year, I was therefore really happy that I could finally combine these two passions, and I let science and design meet in my graduation project, Corpus Commodus. Corpus Commodus is a research about how we use the living human body as a material source. So how we harvest, process, cultivate and use tissue from living people in today's world. And I made this book about this, where I tried to collect everything, because I was totally fascinated by the huge potential of human tissue. And for example, did you know that when after circumcision, foreskin is reused? So a piece of foreskin the size of a bow stem is grown in a lab into pieces of skin resembling the size of 6 football fields. And this is a huge source of material, and this is already being used to treat burn victims, for example. But the same happens with the amniotic membrane after a C-section in a hospital. The amniotic membrane can also be used as a skin graft, but at the same moment it's being used in eye surgery with cornea transplants, but also as a dentistry applications. So within this whole research I stumbled upon great uses of human tissue, but of course I also found discrepancies around the world, because using human tissue is still a really ethically sensitive subject, and therefore it tends to be neglected. And this creates this absence of regulations around the world, and therefore strange situations occur. Because did you know that when you're in hospital and you're having surgery, and the moment tissue is being removed from your body, it's considered res nullius, which means that it's not your property, and it's the property from the one who finds it. And then immediately these questions started to arise in my mind, like, but whose is it, and does a donor know that this tissue is being used? Does the donor know for what purpose it's being used? And is it also okay when other parties, like commercial companies, make money on it? So I extended my research and really dived into this world, and then I made this documentation. So I wanted to map this and create this book. I created this book, and as a designer I created this whole visual language to communicate this to a broader public. This maybe unattractive or unknown matter that I wanted to give to the public. And apparently the public really appreciated it as well, as my book was part of the exhibition Designing Health in the Design House, and it got stolen. But luckily I still have another copy. And at that moment I thought I had this whole documentation of what was happening with human tissue in the present, but I wanted to get a step further. I wanted to dive into the future. So I started another, based on my graduation project, a speculative research of how we might harvest our bodies in the future. And my focus point was cord blood. Because when a baby gets born, the umbilical cord is generally considered waste material, and it still contains this blood that's inside the umbilical cord contains all these valuable stem cells that are pluriform, which means that they can evolve into any type of cell that you want. And so this 25 milliliters can all of a sudden become very valuable, because it's already being used in stem cell transplants, but these cells are also perfect to grow new human tissue. So with an eye on the future, we can print organs with it. So with this idea in mind, that with the birth of every newborn baby, actually a guarantee for its own future is being born, I started to think about how this will change our lives and how we will deal with this fluid. And I made a movie. So in kind of a hands-on, sketchy way, I created an installation to show the process and to show another way of thinking about our body while scientists are developing all these new skills and we don't know how to deal with them yet. So I think we should already start thinking about this now. And within both of these projects, I realized that while cooperating with researchers and scientists, that as a designer, it's not only beneficial to extend your own knowledge, it's also, they also acted really enthusiastic about what I did, because as a designer you're also able to create this image that a scientist is maybe not able to create, or you can ask questions that might be ethical, like sensitive in an ethical way that a scientist can never ask. And therefore I think that these crossover projects are really important to contribute to creating this awareness and literally creating space for people to think about how we want to deal with our bodies and our lives in the future. So also in my professional career I aim to extend this and to develop this and to initiate this. And on my website you can look into more research projects that are also related to nulzes and